Consolidation or transformation. Pharma industry facing many key challenges. We think R&D productivity is the absolutely key challenge in the industry. Moore's law in tech has led to decades of better, faster, cheaper. Eroom's law in pharma has led to decades of better, slower, and much more expensive. So R&D in this industry has been halving predictably every 9 years for about 50 years. It costs billions of dollars to create a drug, and the result, quite frankly, is pricing that is unacceptable even in the United States. So in the face of these big challenges, we think it's really relevant to ask the question, does getting bigger actually make sense? Can a company do more of the same and rely on scale economies and R&D efficiency? Or just maybe, possibly, could there be a better way to burn the hundreds of billions of dollars every year that the pharmaceutical industry spends on R&D? Now, let me just posit to you, digital technology is already enabling one of the biggest shifts in human society in at least 100 years. We're shifting from interactions that were about buildings, people, and products into interactions that are about mobile devices, software, and services. This shift is creating ubiquitous access to information that was previously only available to specialists. It's empowering populations to be their own financial managers, their own travel agents, their own personal shoppers, and increasingly their own nurses and care coordinators. And it's enabling the creation of products and services that are exquisitely tailored to the needs of individual consumers. They reduce costs, they eliminate wastes, and they improve satisfaction. Maybe, just maybe, transformation is worth considering. So, November 2017, Otsuka Pharmaceuticals and Proteus received the world's first ever NDA for a digital medicine. This is a drug that, when swallowed, communicates with your mobile phone, and it accurately reports exactly what pill you took. This is the first time in 36 years FDA has created a new category. Let's say that again. First time in 36 years, FDA has created a new category. In 1982, the technology innovator was Genentech, the partner was Lilly, the drug was Humulin, and what came after that is an industry that we know now as biotech. 2017, the technology innovator is Proteus, the partner is Otsuka, the drug is Abilify. What is coming is an industry that will be known as digital medicines. And I posit to you it will be bigger, faster than biotech. So, this is all about innovation based on silicon and software. For the first time ever, a novel pharmaceutical can be created based upon silicon and software-based innovations. This is the platform that is transforming every single industry on the planet. So this is a digital medicine and a solution that's based upon drugs that communicate when they're swallowed, a wearable device that detects your medicines and tracks physiology, apps that engage consumers and families and inform care teams, and analytics that support providers and payers. They enable us to answer the most fundamental questions in all of ambulatory care. Did the patient take the drug? If they are taking the drug, is it working? Should the care team titrate, rotate, or eliminate the medicine? This is absolutely fundamental to how patients are managed with chronic conditions. Okay. The enabling technology here is an ingestible computer. It's made out of ingredients in your diet, literally, things that you eat every day. It's very tiny. It's the size of a poppy seed. It's approved by the FDA as a new kind of medical device. It is completely safe. There's no battery, there's no radio, there's no antenna, and in the approval, there's no pregnancy restriction, no medical condition restriction, no age restriction, no chronicity of use restriction, absolutely nothing. And you should worry or wonder how it was and how much evidence was required to get that kind of approval. It is enormous, but it is now a platform that can be used inside every medicine in the supply chain. So let's think about where that can go. To gain approval for a digital medicine, there is now an established CEDA approval pathway. This is a novel drug. So you take your approved medicine, you combine it with the approved ingestible sensor. You need to show stability, bioequivalence and for the software human factors. You do not need to do a safety study. That's already been done. You do not need to relitigate efficacy. That's already been done. This takes 20 to 30 months, and it will cost you $50 million. $50 million, you get a new NDA, a new NDC code, and you have the opportunity to create an entirely new business. That's a big opportunity. Some people say, but how can you have a new business if you don't have a patent on the molecule? Well, hold on a second. You can patent more than just molecules. You can patent circuits, and you can patent sensors, and you can patent formulations, and you can patent communication methods, and algorithms, and analytics, and business models, and all of these things are tied to a completely novel piece of hardware. And this field is completely new, which means there is decades of innovation waiting to be patented. Why could this be interesting? In the last century, this industry created the most enormous amount of therapeutic potential. So for many diseases, we have cures, and for many others, effective ways to manage them. But a lot of this potential is wasted. Adherence, use of drug, appropriate use of drug, is universally well below 50%. Drugs don't work if you don't take them, or you don't take them properly. 2018, Annals of Pharmacotherapy, they just published this April 2nd, the cost of illness and death resulting from inappropriate use of medications in the United States, now $525 billion a year. 16% of what we spend in healthcare is caused by inappropriate use of medication. We step back and we say, this is not a problem with defective consumers. This is a problem with defective design. Consumers struggle to use medicines appropriately in open-loop systems. They don't have the knowledge, the skills, or the motivation necessarily to do it properly. Doctors and care teams can't succeed if they don't have information they need to effectively titrate, rotate, or eliminate drugs. There's no data flow. So, digital medicines enable consumers to engage with their own care using the cell phone that's in everybody's pocket. They empower healthcare providers to deliver care that is specific to each consumer based on accurate, objective data. And we do all of this making use of drugs we already have that we know work and we know are safe. We've done over 120 clinical trials on thousands of subjects. What you see here is data from a randomized control study that was published in peer review in the Journal of Medical Internet Research. These are patients who were on polypharmacy, multi-drug therapy for high blood pressure, high blood sugar, and high lipids. They all had to have been on therapy for at least 6 months, and they had to fail every endpoint. 0% response. They go into a clinical study where they're on the same drugs. In the treatment arm, they're digital. In the control arm, they're in a trial, they're on the same drugs. What you see here is that after 3 months on a digital medicine, 98% of the patients meet their blood pressure goal. They have a massive drop in their LDLs and a clinically significant decrease in their HbA1c. Perfect trifecta. If you look at who's in this study, this is the classic medically, economically, socially isolated population that runs through ERs because they don't have doctors or is admitted to hospital. They cost the system a fortune. And by the way, they love this. The net promoter score on this study, 55. To put that into context, the average health plan in the US, -5. Don't feel too good about that because I could tell you what the NPS on the drug company is and it's not that good either. So adherence has an enormous impact. We know that universally across all therapeutic conditions, medication possession around 50%, actual appropriate use of medicine much less. PBM interventions can get it up by maybe 3 to 5% per year. What we're showing, and we've shown consistently across all populations, all conditions, it doesn't matter if you're old, you're young, whether you're a transplant patient or a hypertension patient or a TB patient, we, in every study that we've done, get between 85 and 95% adherence to medication if the drug is digital. And if you add support, we can get adherence up to 98% very easily. And the key insight is that appropriate use of medicines is incredibly valuable. It reduces blood pressure, it reduces LDLs, it improves HbA1c, predictable reductions in stroke and heart attack. And really note here, this is not bending the sick care cost curve. We're not talking about throwing resources into the building people product model. This is blowing it up. This is moving into the world of software, services, and mobile devices, which is absolutely where the whole world is going. Billions of people across the globe are entering the middle class. They all want access to healthcare services. And if you think that in China they're going to solve their health access problem by building hospitals and training doctors, then I don't think you've got it. They're going to do it by going digital, and they'll do it with Tencent and Alibaba, and they'll do it fast. So, many times, in the US, patients can be denied therapy, especially for infectious disease, if there's a concern that they won't finish the course of therapy and they'll create drug refractory strains. In the UK, for example, it's so bad now that kids don't get antibiotics for ear infections, and I know this because I have 5 kids and they didn't get antibiotics. In the US, to put this into perspective, probably 50% of patients diagnosed and eligible for Hep C therapy are screened out because they're considered risks for adherence, and there's all kinds of ways in which this goes on through health plans. In TB, the required treatment standard is directly observed therapy. You have to come to a clinic and be observed every day taking your medicines. It's massively invasive. What you see here is a study that's wirelessly observed therapy. These are digital drugs that enable patients to actually be watched using their TB therapy, and instead of going to the clinic, they go to work. This is incredibly empowering and dignifying for patients. And by the way, if you're the nurse caring for a panel, instead of seeing 10 patients, you can watch 10,000. Much, much more productive, much more accurate. This enables physicians and care teams to shift their care management model from on time to on condition using predictive risk management tools and personalizing therapy to individual patients. Okay, so business model. This has come up a lot today. People talk about drug pricing being the problem. It's not. The pharma business model is the problem. If it costs $5 billion to create a drug and you got to get all your money back and a return on that in less than 10 years, the drug is going to be expensive. This is the problem. R&D costs billions. It's very hard to predict success. When you get a product approved, it's really hard to get it paid for. The pricing must be high. And I know they're all lauding this, but I don't agree. Your competitors in the bulk chemical industry are all sitting there waiting for a date certain when your patent expires and they can take over your business. This is a massive problem. If you go digital and you embrace the idea of adding to your innovation toolkit silicon and software, you can change all this because you've got predictable, much lower risk pathways to create innovation and new products. These products have very significant outcome effects. I just showed you evidence from a study where the comment from one of the FDA people who saw that study is, good grief, this is twice as good as a drug. So very big effect sizes. We know if you're digital, whether it's being used, whether it works, whether you titrate, rotate, eliminate, and it enables a business model that's much more closely tied to value, not volume. People struggle with this. We just heard a whole panel sort of grappling with this, but this is a problem that's already been solved by digital tools in other industries. Advertisers used to be about relatively crude demographic targeting and then driving page views at the indicated target. But advertising has been completely transformed. It's now about sophisticated analytics where delivery is completely precise. And payment isn't based on page views. It's about achieving an outcome or a near outcome surrogate. Well, hold on a minute. Pharmaceuticals today is about relatively crude demographic targeting and driving prescriptions, not page views, at the indicated target. And what this last panel was talking about was, well, what we need to do is enable pharmaceuticals to be about sophisticated analytics, where delivery is precise and payment is tied to achieving an outcome or a near outcome surrogate. Let me posit to you that genotyping is nice. It'll get you to about 5% if you're lucky of the population, but phenotyping is it on a stick. It's going to take you to everyone, and it's being done in every other aspect of your lives. So this is a fundamentally important idea about how we improve use of drugs. Unless you think it's just about taking the existing library, we can continue platform development over decades, innovating the silicon and the software and the drugs. Because digital medicines deliver huge amounts of new data directly relevant to drug development. Therapeutic information about how drugs are actually used in real-world settings, physiologic information about how drug use actually affects real patients, mobile information about how patients engage with their care and what their cognitive state is, and subjective information about how and why patients are using your product. So you can use digital medicine tools and digital medicine's IP to continue to develop the portfolio you already have, every single drug that you have in it, to expand label claims, and you can use these tools for discovery and creating new molecules, making R&D much more efficient. Single most important confounding factor in any phase 3 trial, did the patient take the drug? That has to go away. Dramatic way to leverage an enormous base of established pharmaceuticals and an enormous amount of money being spent on discovery and development. So we've invested a lot. We have a significant infrastructure. We leverage established tablet press technology, semiconductor reel-to-reel systems. This is all technology that's very familiar in other industries. We have global data networks, highly secure encrypted technologies. From day one, we've had essentially an ethical by design principles approach to how we build these products, and a patient bill of rights that basically ensures that the only thing we do with your data is to improve your health and that of other people, and we only ever do this with your explicit consent. Nothing gets shared without you consenting to the sharing, and you do it yourself in your own app. Okay. People talk about big data and AI, and sometimes I'm tempted to say, look, it's a hoax, and that's a little bit of an overstatement. But when you look at human systems, these notions can be a bit misleading. The power of the major platforms you see here is data specificity. They are operating in a world where statistics and probability don't matter anymore. They live in worlds of calculus and certainty. Transformative power comes from this absolute certainty. So the companies here have lots of data, they have lots of fancy algorithms, but look, Amazon knows not just what you buy, but they know how you shop. And Google knows not where you want, just where you vacation, they know what you do when you go on vacation. Facebook knows who your friends are and how you interact with them. LinkedIn knows not only where you work, but how you do a job search. And what Proteus can do is inform people with respect to how you use your medicines and how your bodies respond and affect your daily life. Just like Amazon phenotypes consumers and delivers a precision retail experience that would be different for every single person in this room, digital medicines create the potential for you to deliver precision therapies that would be different for every person in this room. So, in the 20th century, there was a medicines revolution. It was fantastic. 1899, chemistry, Bayer, synthetic aspirin. Got a boost from biology in 1982, that's Genentech and human insulin. We are about to start, we're right at the beginning of, a digital medicines revolution. 2017, FDA, Abilify MySite. We're 120 years into chemistry. We're 36 years into biology. We are 4 months into digital. If biology was a boost for chemistry, then physics is a turbo for both of these disciplines. Okay, consolidation, transformation, you decide. I think the quote I liked from this afternoon is, which one of these is more like women voting? You decide. Thank you.